Last year, I built a 7-foot dining table for my own dining room. And then for the next 7 months, I sat down on it every night in a chair that I bought for $10 from a coffee shop that was going out of business. Now, $10 is a hell of a deal for this chair. I'm not trash talking these chairs, they're solid. They held up under me and whoever was unlucky enough to come over for dinner during the worst stretches of decor in our house's history. But structurally, they're perfect. There's one thing that I should mention. One of them has a wad of bright blue chewing gum that's stuck to the bottom of the chair that's been there, by my estimate, since LeBron's rookie year. So at some point, you have to take a long, hard look at your dining room and admit that a handmade white oak dining table and a coffee shop chair with somebody else's gum on it probably shouldn't be in the same room. So I built 8 chairs. Or I tried to. Now, before I get into it, the part that I was most excited about, the curved backrest, was the part that almost ended the entire 7-month project. So at some point during the build, I cut up the most expensive wood in the entire project, about $1,186 worth of quarter sawn white oak, into 70 thin strips, drove them across town, and handed them to a guy who I'd never met before at a shop that I've never used. I'll explain why in a minute, but I'll tell you that when I drove away from that parking lot, I had no idea what was going to come back. That's where this is going, but before any of that, 8 chairs, let's build. I struggled with the design of these things for years, because there's one thing about designing chairs. Every chair that you've ever sat on has been a chair. You know exactly what it's supposed to look like. And the second that you draw one that's even a little bit weird, your brain immediately goes, that's not a chair, that's a sculpture from a hotel lobby. I sketched probably 3 to 4 dozen different versions over a couple of years. None of them survived being held up next to the dining table. They either looked like they belonged in a different room, a different house, or even a different decade. But the thing that finally unlocked this design wasn't a new sketch, it was a technique. I started learning about bent lamination, and the second I figured out that I could put a curve in the backrest, the rest of the chair fell into place. The legs got the shape that matched the curve, and the whole thing kind of designed itself once I had something to point at. Which is, I think, how I design my best stuff. Not by chasing inspiration through other people's projects, but by getting curious about a technique and following the technique into the design. Inspiration is unreliable, but curiosity is renewable. Anyway, the chair got modeled in 3D, the front and the back leg shapes got exported to the Shaper Origin, and I cut templates out of plywood. Same tool, same process, same shop language as the corner templates for the dining table build. If you've watched a few of these, you've seen this exact shot before. Now, before I cut up a single one of these boards, I owe you a quick story about where this lumber came from. If you saw the dining room table, you might remember a particular $1,217 mistake that I made on the thickness of the tabletop. Quick summary for the people who didn't watch it. I bought 6/4 lumber when I needed 8/4, which is woodworking yard speak for I bought 1.5 inch thick boards when I needed 2 inches. So I had to eat the cost, buy 8/4 oak, and start the top over from scratch. In that video, I told you that I'd find something to do with the leftover 6/4 eventually. This is the eventually. The frames of all 8 of these chairs are made from the wood that came from the 6/4 mistake. Which means, and this is the kind of math that I love, my most expensive woodworking mistake turned into the cheapest chair build ever. The chair frames were zero cost since I already had the lumber. If anybody from accounting is watching, no, that's not actually how it works, but it sure feels nice. Alright, once the templates are completed, this part is mostly executing the process. Pattern bit on the router, follow the template, repeat. The work goes from interesting to boring as soon as the template is right, which is exactly what you want when you're making this many of something. The one thing that's worth noting and saying out loud, and this is for the woodworkers in the room, is that I cut the ends and the joint face on the table saw and not the router. The table saw creates a cleaner cut, and to make sure that each leg is cut the same, I made a sled that is tailored to make the perfect cut. Now, making the sled is one of those things people skip on, because it takes time. But in the long run, it saves time and keeps every chair the same. For everybody else, just pretend I said something boring about a sled. Okay, so the side assemblies and the front and back supports are pretty straightforward. I'm gonna use dominoes, but the only one that's a little bit tricky is the back support. It's curved, which makes cutting the domino less straightforward. Let me show you what I'm gonna come up with though. I'm gonna cut this right now. I set everything up. I think it's gonna work. I'm really stupid for cutting this on a game piece, if you will. This is the real deal. I shouldn't be doing this. If I start talking a lot, I'm getting nervous, and I'm a little bit nervous about this cut. And I could eliminate that by testing it out. But why waste time doing that and not stress yourself out? So here we go. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go, baby. Let's go. All right. Let's go. Now there's a reason why I question myself. I'm not that smart. I thought that I was pretty smart with this. I'm not that smart. But I am smart enough to know that I'm not smart. So I caught myself before making a terrible mistake. And what I was gonna do for all 16 was I was gonna slot it into this thing, and I thought that that would work. The domino would have been cut there. So we have the domino there, which would not work with that. What I'm gonna have to do is I'm going to have to cut 8 of the 16 this way, the way that I have it set up, and then I'm going to flip the template and then do the next 8. So I've taken a long break from this chair project. I've made 2 videos in between the time that I last worked on the chairs and now. I made the gift video, and then I also did a shop tour. So if you're interested in that, go check that out as well. But we're back in the shop. Right now I have the side assemblies all glued up, so those are ready. And the next step is getting the curved backrest. I've been a little bit cautious about this next step as I've never done bent lamination, and that's how I'll be achieving the curved backrest. First things first is we need to make the form for the bent lamination. I've already 3D modeled the chair, so I have the curve that I want, and then I've already put it into the shape or origin, and then start building the form. So here we are, the part I've been afraid of since the day I went all in on this design. There are basically 2 ways to make a curved piece out of wood that's also strong enough to do a structural job. The first one is steam bending, where you take a couple strips of wood, you put them into a steam box, cook them for an hour or so, then you bend them into shape while the wood fibers are temporarily flexible. While this is a great route to take for some cases, I didn't think that it was necessary for mine. It adds more complexity to the process where the result is likely going to be similar. Another path is bent lamination. Slice the board into thin strips, glue the stack, clamp it into a curved form while the glue cures. When it dries, the wood thinks that the curve is its natural shape. It's the same physics as a snowboard, and that's why a snowboard can hold an adult plus their entire ski lodge breakfast and not snap in half. Stacked thin layers are dramatically stronger than the equivalent thickness of a solid piece of wood. And this is the part that matters for me. If the form is right, each piece that comes off the form is identical, which is exactly what you need when you make 8 of something. Or that's how it's supposed to work. Most of my pre-built shop time went into this thing right here. Half a day to build it. Lots of MDF. Same idea every shop uses, just sized for my chair. The thing about a form is that any flaw in the form gets multiplied by 8 because every chair is going to get pressed into the same form. A wave in the curve on chair 1 means a wave in the curve on chair 8, which means a wave in the curve in my dining room for the next 30 years. So the form gets more attention than any single chair part is going to get. It's the most important piece of wood in the project, and nobody will ever see it. When I start a build, I do this thing where I map out all the hard parts in my head before I touch a single tool. The leg shape, the bent lamination, the upholstery, the finish. Each one becomes a thing. It's like facing Betts, Freeman, and Otani in the same inning. And as you get closer to each one, I hide from it. I clean my shop, I reorganize my domino tenons for no reason. I make a sandwich, check the mail twice, find a podcast that I haven't listened to in 3 years and listen to it. But at some point, the pressure to actually finish the project and get the video out eventually outweighs the friction of doing the hard thing. And I just gotta get it done. Most of the time it's fine, sometimes I fail, but rarely I crush it. I've spent the last couple of sessions just testing and working out these backrest. I'm struggling to get these strips down to the right thickness with the tools that I have in order to make them bend in the form. That planer, it's becoming a mulcher. It's just eating up my wood. I just can't get over the fact that it's just digging up these pieces. I think I have to resort to bringing the slices that I'm going to make out of the quarter sawn lumber to a lumber store that has a wide belt sander. The thing about that is I'm going to be handing this over to someone else. It's just a little bit stressful to hand over, a project that I'm putting so much into to somebody else. And I'm also not sure if it's going to be able to work. So it's definitely a huge gamble, but I think it's my only option. And I've brought things over to them in the past, but never something like this. It's just a huge gamble. I'm not sure if this is going to work out. What a pleasure it is to mill up this stuff. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Look at how everything is right when we're milling this stuff up. All right, back to it. All right, I'm testing these strips out on a piece of wood that I wasn't super happy with, and man, I'm struggling. I'm just getting inconsistent. As you can see, this is way too thin. This side is thicker than this side. So it's not only uneven lengthwise, but also height-wise. So, trying to figure this out. I know if I draw a line on the piece and I can follow that line, but that requires me to draw a line every single cut, and I'm going to make about 60 cuts, so that's not going to be super scalable, but I'm running out of options. I am struggling. That didn't work. That also did not work. What am I doing? There we go. Oh, why did I do that? That hurt. $15 board foot, white oak, quarter sawn with the raise. That hurts. I can just hand draw and then hand cut. All right. I need to get to work. Let's go. So about 2 hours in the shop tonight. Man, this is a lot. I'm really hoping that this is gonna work. Every time I'm cutting into that wood, I'm thinking I'm cutting money. I don't know if this is gonna work. It's not for the weak. We're all done. We're ready to drop these things off at the lumber store to be sanded down to the final width. And I can't help but think, do I just have like hundreds of dollars just sliced up sitting next to me? Is this even gonna work? I have no clue. But I have about 70 strips here. I think that's gonna be enough for ample amounts of mistakes, but we'll have to see. I don't know what's gonna happen. I got the strips back from the lumber shop. It's time to see if this gamble worked out. So that gamble worked out very, very nicely. These things look perfect. What a great play. What a great play. So much hard work went into that. So much trust, so much stress, but we're in the home stretch. I can see it. We just need to execute the glue up. Let's get to it. Yeah. Now here's the thing that matters the most about bent lamination glue ups. It doesn't fail because you don't squeeze hard enough. It fails because you squeeze unevenly. So you start in the center and work outwards, alternating sides. By the time the outer clamp goes in, the curve is already taken its shape. You're just holding it there until the glue oozes into place. The other way bent lamination fails is opening the clamps too early. There's no recovering from that one. So I waited overnight like a normal person. No gaps, solid curve. Earlier I told you that I rarely crush it. Well, this is one of those times. All right, 8 chairs, 7 months, $1,847 in oak, 60-something hours of labor. Now, if you've watched a couple of these videos, you've already started doing the math, which means I probably should do it out loud so we don't have to look at each other awkwardly while you do it on your phone. If somebody were to commission this set as a one-off, design, build, finish, 8 chairs out the door, the price comes out in the neighborhood of about $600 to $700 per chair. Let's call it $5,360 for a set of 8. I should clarify, I'm not actually selling this set. I built these for my own house, so the math is theoretical until somebody emails me asking for 8 more. Here's the part of the business that actually matters, and the reason why I'm telling you all of this. I run a side hustle shop. I have a real day job, so I have limited hours, limited weekends, limited everything to run this side hustle. So here's how it could operate. Option A, go chase a commission. Find somebody who needs custom furniture, easier said than done. And as exciting as it may seem to have a home already determined before even starting the work, in my experience, the project quickly turns a fun side hustle into a job. Then we have option B, build what I actually want to build, on my own time, on my own dime, then figure out the money on the back end. I switched to option B a few months back, where I build a prototype, I sell the prototype somewhere between cost and a bit of time, I make a video, then I sell plans on my website and on my Patreon to anyone who wants to build it on their own. Which means, and this is the secret, the sponsor for this video is me. The plans are $40, link is in the description. If you're a woodworker who wants to build these chairs, that's the page that pays for this. If you're a side hustle garage woodworker like myself, working under the same constraints as I am, chasing commissions, running prototypes, and balancing that all against a day job and a marriage and slow pitch softball with the guys, I genuinely like to know how you're operating. The comments on this video are open. I read them. And honestly, that's worth more to me than plans revenue, because that's the conversation I would have liked to have heard 5 years ago when I was just figuring this out. Anyway, back to the chairs. Now, normally when I'm in a build, I'm rushing. The video deadline is closing, the shop is a mess, the hamster wheel is spinning. I cut sanding corners I couldn't and tell myself that one more pass on the orbital sander is going to fix what 2 passes by hand would actually fix. Not this one though. I don't know if it was the 7-month timeline or the bent lamination scare making me unwilling to let any other part be the weak link, but on this build, I felt comfortable taking extra time. I sanded every face like 7 times, broke every edge by hand, went back to 120 grit on a chair 5 because I noticed something in chair 4. I shot for the moon on this one and landed on the stars. They're far from perfect, but it's closer than I usually get, and that's what's important. So, a few days after the 8th chair came out of the form, I posted a photo of one of them to my Instagram. 48 hours later, a furniture boutique across town slid into my DMs. They didn't want a commission. They didn't want me to build new ones. They wanted these chairs, the 8 that I just finished. And look, for any normal person running a side hustle furniture shop, this is the message you want sitting in your inbox. A real boutique, real walls, real customers walking in on Saturday, walking out with a chair. I get to put a price on it, send 8 chairs out the door, deposit the check, and start whatever project I wanted next. So I sat down and I did actual numbers. The set goes for around $5,360 if anybody commissions it. These are already built, the materials already paid for, bent lamination scare survived, a real check from a real buyer. The only thing standing between me and that check was the fact that I would have to build 8 more chairs. Here's the part that nobody puts in a side hustle YouTube video. The reason I was excited to finish these chairs wasn't the money. It was that I was done. 7 months of bent lamination forms and domino drawer reorganization, having the next project in the back of my brain, getting impatient. I wanted the next project to be something that wasn't a chair. If I said yes, the next 7 months of my life were booked. Same form, same 70 strips, same drive across town, with $1,000 of oak in the back of my truck, the exact same project run again. And the part that actually decided it was those 7 months. So I said no, politely, with genuine appreciation that somebody other than my mom thought these were worth real money. Maybe in a year, when the chair itch comes back around, and it will, that's the other thing nobody tells you. The hard ones always come back. Maybe I'll reach out and I'll ask if they're still interested. For now, these chairs are mine. 8 seats down. We're so close. We just have to put the rail that the seats are going to sit on, and then I'll attach with a screw, and then I need to finish the chairs, and then we're all done. But making those seats was actually, it was kind of fun. I liked the different pace. A lot of it was just process. I think I went through like 2,000 staples, which was a lot. Yeah, I kind of enjoyed that. I think for future projects, if there's any upholstering or anything like that, I'm not going to shy away from it because I actually enjoyed the process. So let's wrap this baby up. The dining table video ended on a line that I didn't know was a setup. I said the dining room table is the heart of every home. And then I said what I really was looking forward to wasn't the big special occasion meals at the table, it was the everyday dinner, the boring ones. The ones nobody photographs. What I had missed when I had said that, and what occurred to me about month 3 into this build, is that you don't have an everyday dinner without chairs. The table is the heart of the home. The chairs are who let you sit at it. All right, quick check. About 20 minutes into this video, which means one of 2 things is true. Either A, you stuck around because you enjoyed the video, or B, you put me on while folding laundry and I'm just background noise at this point. Either way, I'll take it. But if it's option A and you stuck around for the 8 chairs and 7 months and one drive across town with thousands of dollars of oak in the back of my truck, then I generally appreciate a like and a subscribe. Never ask for it in the front of the videos because I feel like I have to earn it. 20 odd minutes in with chairs and a dining room table. Yeah, I'll take it. And if you watched the dining table video before this one, you already know how I feel about it. None of this happens without the people sticking around for a couple of these in a row. So thank you. Like, subscribe, do all that, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.